Masvidal might be making a comeback against either Leon Edwards or stealing Michael Chandler away from Conor McGregor. Arman Sarukian versus Islam Makhachev isn't going to happen this year, and they're probably either going to force an interim because why not, or they're going to make it early next year. On top of that, I'm probably going to be going on a few side tangents this video, and I think this is going to be pretty entertaining, but we got a lot to talk about, my brothers. Okay? Number one, first thing on the MMA news cycle, Jorge Masvidal wants to make a return, and the two people that he's named is Michael Chandler and Leon Edwards. Let's actually get to that really quick. Let's turn his volume up. Turn the volume up.
His ass. It could be next year, Super Bowl. Back somebody else on their ass. I don't know, man. I don't quite know yet. I'm going to hear all my options. I'm going to see all my options.
But, I mean, Leon Edwards is still out there. I'm just saying, that's an idea.
I tried to. Leon Edwards don't want this.
Okay, to be fair to Masvidal here, okay, and actually, this needs to be said. I'm actually going to pull up the rankings just so I can fully articulate to you why Masvidal versus Leon Edwards, I fully understand it doesn't make a lick of sense rankings-wise. It is pure Dana White privilege. Masvidal has lost to Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns, and he could get a fight against Leon Edwards, but let me explain to you why really quick, and it really all comes down to Leon. Leon is still the number one guy. Kamaru Usman, I have no clue what he's doing. I think Kamaru Usman needs to go up to middleweight. I'll be frank with you. I think welterweight, there's not a lot of money fights at welterweight. We kind of already know where Kamaru Usman stands there. I think Savkat beats Kamaru Usman. I think Jack Della Maddalena stands a really good chance. And I don't think Usman's going to beat Leon Edwards again. So Kamaru automatically needs to go. If we're looking at welterweight right now, the fact is the welterweight division is really just boiled down to Bilal Muhammad is going to fight Savkat Rakhmonov. And I like Savkat. I am not the biggest fan of that for one real reason. Because if Savkat Rakhmonov were to fight Bilal Muhammad next, it will be at UFC 310 of this year. A full year since UFC 296, which was the last time Savkat Rakhmonov fight. So Savkat Rakhmonov is going to get a title shot off of being Wonder Boy. And I understand why the UFC is doing what they're doing, because the fact is the hype ceiling behind Savkat Rakhmonov is way higher than just about every other welterweight outside of maybe Jack Della Maddalena. But outside of that, Savkat Rakhmonov's their biggest seller. Savkat Rakhmonov is going to be fighting Bilal Muhammad next. So we got Kamaru Usman off the board. We got Savkat off the board. So Leon, you could get the Jack Della Maddalena fight, but I'll be real, I think Jack Della Maddalena does this man dirty. Colby Covington ain't going to fight you. Gilbert Burns is already fighting Sean Brady. So really, what I could see them doing, and even Dana kind of agreed, Leon Edwards versus Ian Gary. So let me ask you this question really quick, okay? Leon, would you rather fight Masvidal and make a ton of money, or fight Ian Gary? Those are your choices, Leon. Like, I'll just be real with you. Masvidal, as fucked up as it sounds, has more options than you do. You have Ian Gary, or really there's nobody else, okay? Like Neil Magny's about to go out of the rankings. Vicente Luque's barely even there. Michael Venom Page is already booked up. Joaquin Buckley's fighting Wonder Boy, which is still crazy because Wonder Boy lost to Savkat and now Savkat's fighting for the title. Does that mean Buckley gets to get like up into the top 5 rankings off of that? I don't know. But maybe I'm just being a little bit too cynical of it. But Leon, you don't have many options here, brother. Okay, you have Ian Gary or now Masvidal. Look, Masvidal threw you a money fight, and you need to take advantage there. There is beef there. You can make a fight off of it, and I think Leon Edwards absolutely dog walks this man. I know some people are going to say, oh, well, he got robbed against Nate Diaz. Did you see what Leon Edwards did against Nate Diaz? Are you really trying to make that comparison to me? And yeah, no, jokes aside, I think Masvidal's trying to get a good money fight. Masvidal does sell against just about everybody he fights. That's just how it is. But the other interesting bit is he said he'd be interested in fighting Michael Chandler. Now, listen, let's be real here. The reason that he's interested in the Chandler fight is he ultimately wants to get the McGregor fight. And if you think that's crazy, I would like to remind you that the whole reason that McGregor fought Donald Cerrone is they were trying to hype up a fight between Masvidal and Conor McGregor. That was a fight that was hyped up for so long, they just dropped the storyline because they thought, oh, Conor McGregor could maybe win the lightweight title because Khabib isn't there. And then the Dustin thing happened, and this is how we got here. Maybe they're trying to do the Masvidal route, but Masvidal retired. Maybe that's something that the UFC's interested in, but I'll be real with you. I don't think the UFC's even really interested in Conor McGregor at this point. I'll just be real with you. And that comes into something I'm going to say later on, but poor Michael Chandler here, because Michael Chandler, it's really looking like he took 2.5 years out of nothing. Like, if you say, so what, you KO Conor McGregor, what's next in your career? Your options really are to retire. There's not much you can do. I think the Masvidal fight is hilarious, because it's like, hey, we have Conor McGregor at home when we talk about, like, pay-per-views. McGregor sells well against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler doesn't really sell well against anybody. But Michael Chandler versus Masvidal, is that a good replacement fight? No. If I'm Michael Chandler, I either demand an interim title fight against Arman Tsarukyan, which is something that I think the UFC's even 50-50 on, or I demand a BMF title fight against Max Holloway. Those are your best options, but I could see the UFC just saying no to you, because this is what happens when you take 2.5 years off and you aren't the A side of the pay-per-view. You are not selling much, Michael Chandler. Conor McGregor could ask for an interim and the fans would actually do it. There was a time where we were actually contemplating having Conor McGregor fight Kamaru Usman before Bilal Muhammad. I just want you to think about that. The UFC will bend the rules for Conor. Chandler, they're just doing this out of pity. I'll just be real with you. What do I think should happen? I think Masvidal versus Leon is the way to go, because Leon gets a payday. Masvidal gets he's just going to get his ass beat. That's just what's going to happen. And Ian Gary just has to wait a little bit longer, and he's probably going to have to fight Jack Della Maddalena. And I think Ian Gary versus Jack Della Maddalena is objectively a pretty good fight, and might even be an exciting fight for Ian Gary. My money's on Jack Della Maddalena, though. That's all I'm saying. Now, next story. We got Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan, it's looking like... Remember that Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev 2 fight that was rumored for this year? Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. The reason that's probably not going to happen is because of an injury that Islam Makhachev got in the Dustin fight. Apparently, he broke his head... he broke his hand, broke some tendons in his hand, punching the thick skull of Dustin Poirier. And apparently it's so bad that his coach, Javier Mendez, has straight up said he's not going to be able to strike for months. And he needs to get a hand surgery for him to be 100%. And I think Islam Makhachev relatively has been an active Dagestani. He has tried his best. And I think you don't have to force an interim, but it would be interesting. The only way I can see them forcing an interim is if they do Arman Tsarukyan against Michael Chandler, and it's a way of freeing up Michael Chandler so you can make Conor McGregor versus anybody. I think at this point the UFC realizes that they should just dump Chandler and make Conor McGregor fight a returning Nate Diaz or a Masvidal, and that's a better fight. Dustin Poirier's talking about a retirement fight against Nate Diaz, bro. Like, we are seeing a point where within the next year, Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, Masvidal, and Conor McGregor are all going to be retired. And I think the best route would be maybe you do a Masvidal-Conor after Masvidal gets beaten up by Leon. I think you do a Nate Diaz-Dustin. I think that works well. And you just throw Michael Chandler to Arman Tsarukyan, where Arman's probably going to beat him, and Buddy gets an interim title fight, and you can hype up the Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev fight. I think that is the route to go with Arman here. Because if we're looking at these pound-for-pound rankings really quick, we're going to shoehorn the pound-for-pound rankings into this, okay? Well, if you look at the pound-for-pound, Islam Makhachev's the pound-for-pound number 1 guy. Absolutely, no question about that. John Jones shouldn't even... I'll be real. Putting John Jones in the number 3 of pound-for-pound is actually kind of crazy because we're going off recency. Yeah, nah. I don't want to make a whole video roasting Dana White because everybody's doing that now. But, dude, it's getting so bad. He threatened to replace the rankings people with AI because AI would do a better job of the rankings. Dog, what are you talking about? We're getting closer and closer to me actively hoping that he gets either taken out of the president's spot or just retires, bro. Like, Dana, I don't know what's going on with Dana, bro. It's getting too much for me. What was I going for? Islam Makhachev's the current pound for pound #1 guy. If I'm Arman Tsarukyan here, if I'm not getting the Islam Makhachev fight, the only thing that's good for Arman is there's nobody that you can put above Arman. Arman, I think an interim, it works out because you can get Michael Chandler out of that Conor McGregor fight, and it forces Islam Makhachev to make a hasty recovery, and maybe you can do something off of that. But if I'm Arman Tsarukyan, I mean, he's taking the right route here. He's next up for the title. He beat Charles Oliveira. That's a #1 contenders match if I've ever heard one. Michael Chandler's wasting his career. Masvidal's decided he's an MMA fighter now. A whole lot of crazy stuff is happening, and Dana White is having a fucking aneurysm because Jon Jones is not the #1 guy. And if I had to be brutally honest with you, at this point, I would put Jon Jones, if we're going off of recency, maybe above Bilal. Maybe at like Tom Aspinall level. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta end it on this one. Tom Aspinall's ranked #fucking 8 in the pound for pound rankings, dude. I think it's a pretty easy thing to make as a matchmaker. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. The only two heavyweights in the pound for pound rankings that are ranked top 15 in the world, pound for pound. Maybe you should make them fight each other and tell Stipe to fuck off. Like, maybe that's the way to go. But whatever. I think AI would say the same thing if I'm going to be brutally honest with you. But there you go. I just want to talk about that. Tell me how you like these videos where I just do a bunch of other subjects. I think I do better with these just because I like to rant about things, but I also like to talk about many things. And it gives you guys more things to listen to. Thank you guys for the support on this channel. And I will see you all next time. Adios.